Sure. Yeah. All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I hope you're with us and you're online and coming from the comfort of your home because we have a very special presentation about an awesome organization that I can't wait to learn more about, and that's Intersections of Change from Baltimore. And I know that they have a lot of great wisdom to share and how this organization is using the arts to improve community. Tonight's presentation is part of our residency with Todd Marcus, a composer and musician who will be performing here on Saturday night with the Todd Marcus Quintet and at 7 p.m. And I hope you'll go online to joesmovement.org and get tickets and come on down. So I know you're interested in hearing from the wisdom of this great crew, and I will hand it off to Todd to let him introduce you and let us get to know the folks behind Intersection of Change. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. It's good to be here at Joe's Movement Emporium. This is a project that I really appreciate Brooke inviting us to do. We met through another opportunity that I had applied for, and she had said, you know, we'd be interested in have you doing some work with us. And oftentimes when you have these kind of occasions, it's maybe a concert and you play the concert and then that's it, and the night is over. And I really appreciated that Brooke said, well, we'd like to look at making it more and to have some artist talks. And so we did one last Wednesday. We talked about the background, my background being Egyptian and working to incorporate Middle Eastern influences into my compositions as a composer, as a bass clarinetist. And the other important part of my life with all of you here is in our community in West Baltimore. And this is a neighborhood that I moved into over about 25 years ago after meeting this gentleman. I had been a college student volunteering in the neighborhood and working in a chapter of Habitat for Humanity we had in our neighborhood. And then I met him, and I was coming every Saturday, and we started working together. And he's going to tell you about that and the motivation and the mission and the drive of what we're about. But we're going to start by showing you a short video. In 2018, I released an album called On These Streets, A Baltimore Story, which was very much intentionally after the unrest in Baltimore after the death of our community resident, Freddie Gray. And for me as a musician, I felt this was a chance to do a musical portrait of our community. All the media, we know we're watching all the negative stuff on TV, and we're already used to that. Elder Harris is a lifelong resident. You weathered that for so many years, for decades, and stayed and fought through that. But I felt as an artist and as a resident for so long, I had a chance to share that side that people don't see. So the album came out of that called On These Streets of Baltimore Story. We'll go ahead and play that now and then talk a little bit more. So we're here on the corner, Pennsylvania Avenue and Pressman Street. We're on the border of Sandtown, Winchester, and Upton here in West Baltimore. And this is a neighborhood that I've been blessed to be a part of for over 20 years, working at this intersection, living around the corner. And for me, as not just someone that's a community activist, but a musician, this was a project to try to merge my two worlds and share a musical portrait of our community here in Baltimore.
I think that the general perception of Sandtown by the residents of Sandtown is that we are a close-knit community. A lot of the families that have grown up here have been here for decades, have been here for a while. This is a place where I'm raising my daughter, and I wanted to see the good, bad, and the difference that is found in Sandtown.
The longer that I've been working as a jazz musician, I've been here in community, working in a community nonprofit called Intersection of Change, which was founded by a lifelong community resident named Elder C.S.B. Harris, his wife Amelia Harris. And we've been focused on dealing with poverty-related challenges in our neighborhood.
We serve here because there's so much suffering in this community, because there's so much need here in this community. Our community having kids not graduating from school, selling drugs, people in the community without decent, affordable homes, returning citizens from incarceration, going back to jail. Things had to be done, and so we had to put action to the words that we preached.
You know, we've been focused on dealing with poverty-related challenges in our neighborhood. And here at this intersection, when we started, this whole intersection was abandoned and vacant. Big open-air drug market where I'm sitting right here, right now. All the buildings behind us abandoned, and our work has been to address poverty-related challenges. And in the process, we revived all these buildings to serve as sites for our recovery program, Martha's Place, our arts program, Jubilee Arts, Urban Farm, and a program that helps ex-offenders called the Strengths of Love 2.
He fell in love with what Elder Harris was doing, so much so that he moved into the community, and from there he moved into our home for a period of time. And he could envision that same vision that Elder Harris had.
He became very drawn to the efforts of justice and in our community, and we became friends, and that friendship became family. And so he's like a son to Amelia and I.
And now, at this point in my life, really in reflection of the unrest in 2015, when so many people were focused on the negative aspects and our challenges and really trying to reinforce the negative stereotypes, I thought this is a point where I have an opportunity as a community resident who's been here for a long time now to talk about our strengths too, give the nuances, when people understand past the stereotypes. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. All right, so that gives you a little peek at the project, and I want to turn over now. You heard some words from him in the beginning, and we have the man himself here, gentleman that stayed in our community during the hardest times in our neighborhood, Sandtown, Winchester, in West Baltimore, the same period that so many of our communities across our country were going through similar neglect and abandonment and challenges, and he and his family stayed and fought, and he is a man of vision, a man of faith, and I'd like to turn over Elder C.W. Harris. If you would tell us a little bit about, in the context today of us talking about social justice, community development, your thoughts, why you did this, what gave you the strength to do this, anything that you want to share.
Thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to express who we are. My name is Elder C.W. Harris, Clyde William Harris. I am an indigenous leader of a community that's called Sandtown, Winchester, which is a 72 square block area in Baltimore City. It was at one time the community where African Americans were located. We were in this ghetto because of discrimination, and there weren't many communities in Baltimore City that we could live. But this was one of them, and this was in central West Baltimore. It had a population in that 72 square block area of about 40,000. It is now down to about 11. So now there are vacant homes, and we are suffering spiritual and sociological and economic neglect. And it's very painful. But in the times that I grew up, there were political figures who lived in our community. There were educators. There were doctors. There were some who were very influential and some who were not. But we all grew up together. For those who may not have been as influential as others, we could see and ask questions of how to get there, right within our community. I could wake up in the morning and smell the coffee of my father before he went to work. And I knew one day that I would have to do the same thing. These are the benefits that I received growing up in a community of need. But we had a pride. We could not, within our hearts, see how impoverished we were because of integration, how left out we were because of integration, how we could not receive and achieve goals in our life and express ourselves because of integration, but we had each other, we had community. And each one were able to teach one, and we were able to learn from each other. After the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., everything went south. And after integration, those of our best teachers and leaders were able to exit our community and go into other affluential community and were able to blend in. And I could have done the same thing, but I decided to stay because my community taught me so much. And I wanted others who were suffering and weren't able to leave the community, as some were. I wanted them to learn and to understand how they can make it, they can achieve, and they do not have to leave their community and go somewhere else. They can stay within the communities, the confounds in which they grew up, that they know in the bottom of their heart, and build a new Black Wall Street. And so I was influenced by an organization called Christian Community Development Association, CCCDA, and also a member in Washington, D.C. on 16th and Columbia, Gordon Cosby, and the Church of the Savior. What he did, Gordon Cosby, in the Adams Morgan area of Washington, D.C., with his different organizations in housing building, in economic building, in health building, I was able to take that in and use it in my community, which was devastated after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so what we were able to do through the help of those who you see here, we were able to build a place for women who are suffering with the addiction of drugs and alcohol, very involved with the arts, and we created Jubilee Arts. We have Baltimore's largest farm, urban farm, ridding ourselves of food apartheid in one of the areas where people were throwing their trash. We cleaned it up, and then almost 2 acres of land, we were able to build these tunnels, almost a block long. And now we're growing fresh vegetables, working with those returning citizens from incarceration, teaching them a trade, the importance of work, the self-help, and to be able to become entrepreneurs. Also, we have an organization to work with our young people to teach them the businesses. I've also was involved in creating a school with another organization called New Song Learning Center in our community that we are able to teach our young people in our community, and some of them were smart enough to be Ivy League students and have grown to be great ambassadors of our community. So with the help of Patty Passatarao and Todd Marcus, our newest member of the team, Jasper, from North Carolina, a Tar Heel, and also a Panther. I don't want to say too much about the Panthers, but we together, along with others, I think there is about, how many on the staff now?
About 20 people.
We have 20 people on our staff in the different organizations to support us. And that hadn't been easy during this pandemic, trying to keep the money up to make sure that everyone received their salaries, to continue the good work. And those reports of all the good that we are doing, you don't hear much of. But you hear of the crime and the grime. But those of us who are in the trenches with our nose to the wheel, holding on to the faith, you just don't hear much of. And I thank God for this opportunity that others can hear what we are doing and continue to do. And I'm glad I'm up in age, and I have passed the baton on to our young people to continue on, and I'm glad that they have come to a community of need with their talents, which could be demonstrated anywhere in the United States. Each one of the people that are up here are very gifted, but they chose to be in a poverty-stricken area to share their gifts. And I am deeply grateful for the response, the living response that our young people are doing in our community, and our community members certainly appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity and space.
Thank you, Elder Harris. And maybe what we could do, as you gave all that context, and people hear that, but the visual, let's give them some visuals. We have another team member that's with us today. You don't see him on the stage, but Gustavo, who's behind the scenes and working everything for us. he's got our website pulled up, and this is intersectionofchange.org. And so let's take them through, Elder Harris. I mean, I think it's going to give a whole level, other level to see, when you talk about how we have a recovery program called Martha's Place,
Yes.
how we have an arts program called Jubilee Arts,
Yes.
how we have an acre-and-a-half farm that does growing and workforce development.
Youth in business.
It's one thing to say all that stuff, but to realize that in our neighborhood, where, like you said, we were a population of over 40,000,
Yes.
down to a 25% of that, the amount of vacancy that we have, vacant buildings knocked down, making vacant lots. So when I say about you being a visionary, look, Elder Harris is our primary founder. I'm a co-founder. His wife, Amelia Harris, is the third co-founder. And one of the stories I love to tell is that when Elder Harris got the first building at our intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Pressman Street, and I heard the story later on that he came home and he said to Mrs. Harris, he said, "Ma, I got this building." And she said, "You did what?" So Gustavo, take us to the here on our website. Go to the About Us tab. You want to go to the About Us tab and go down to History, and let's show you what that looked like. Actually, forgive me. No, let's go back to our programs. Forgive me. Go to our programs and then neighborhood revitalization. Let's do that way. All right, and if we scroll down a little bit, as I say, back in the mid-90s, Elder Harris went and got this building on the left.
I paid $3,000 for it.
And Mrs. Harris said, "You did what?"
That was my down payment. And I bought this raggedy building, and I took over the payments for this building. And of course, I was a visionary, and no one could see at that time what I saw. I saw great possibilities, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I was inspired by, again, Gordon Cosby here in Washington, D.C., and I saw what he did in Adams Morgan after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. There was a great flight in Adams Morgan, just like it was in Sandtown, and he took buildings, and everyone gave up, and he revitalized those buildings, took ownership of it, and revitalized those buildings, and now they're great architectural wonders, and they're helping so many people. And that's what I saw.
And so
that's the before and after.
And so our paths crossed around this time because I was coming to the neighborhood, a college student volunteering with Sandtown Habitat for Humanity. And one Saturday I had been coming probably about a year, and they didn't have any work for me. And we were waiting to be assigned, and this guy rolls up in a pickup truck. This guy rolls up in a pickup truck and says, "I'll put you to work." And we went down the street to this building, and at the end of the day of working on that building with him, I said, "Hey, I'm here every Saturday. Can I just come and work with you?" So I guess, we always talk about you as the visionary, Elder Harris. I guess I had some vision to be able to see from the beginning too, right? And then
Yeah. Well, the best thing that Todd could do in reconstructing this building was drive his thumbnail. I said, "That's the wrong nail." But, I mean, you could tell he's an Egyptian because this brother has a gift of building. He built his own house. We were going to build our own house together, side by side, but a wind came and blew the structure down, and they just tore it down, and we had to give up that dream.
But yeah, I mean, we started we met that first Saturday, and then I came every Saturday. We would work together.
Every Saturday.
And then I was not seeing a path for myself studying political science at college. I was feeling passionate about community. And all this while, every Saturday, I was coming in and working, but I was being mentored by Elder Harris, learn about the history of our community. I was falling in love with jazz at the same time, and here I'm studying about all my heroes. Miles, Coltrane, Sonny Rollins, Mingus, and the music, the 50s and the 60s, all that stuff that overlapped. And here, Elder Harris was a son of Sandtown. And so all this being poured into me. And so I left. I didn't see a path in political science. I stopped school. I moved in the neighborhood, did AmeriCorps for 2 years. And then we worked on this building. And as Elder Harris said, the result is on the right. So Gustavo, scroll down a little bit, because we thought we had conquered the world after we finished that building and dedicated it in 2000. Boy. And then we saw, oh boy, look at all this nasty vacant
Before
land
and
next to
after.
us. And so we said, hey, Baltimore City, we're doing some good work. We'd like to acquire this land. And we did, and we made a beautiful meditative garden.
But I must say that Todd, I was afraid. Todd left school, and I was afraid what his parents thought of me. And I said, man, Todd, you stayed with in my home for a year. I said, you have to go back to school, man. Shucks, I don't want your parents upset with me. And I said, we'll stop working until you finish school. I think he went to Rutgers. Graduated with honors, and he did urban studies. Am I correct? Yep. And then when he graduated then he came back and we went back to work, and we finished this job in 2000. We started in 1996 and completed this in 2000. And his mother was very proud of me, and his father too. So I was happy that he finished, and I let him ride my car, and he wrecked it. So, so all that's a part of the plan too.
So, we thought we had conquered the world, renovated the first building, done some beautiful green spaces, but then Gustavo, show them down a little bit what we saw across the street from us. All those vacant buildings.
House of ill repute. They had sexual social workers who were on our corners, and they had a shooting gallery in most of those buildings here. And word me so. So we took ownership over them all.
And so we renovated them, and you see on the picture on the right how beautiful they are. Another one of the murals that we've done. At this point, we've done 36 murals in our community, and it's a good time for me to turn the mic over to Jasper Nance. He is the program director for our Martha's Place program that occupies those buildings that we've looked at so far. This is our program for our women overcoming substance abuse. I'll let him talk to you about it, and I'll just say too, though, that though we serve our women, it is our women that have been the residents that have in turn helped stabilize our intersection. Our intersection was a big open air drug market, and it wasn't just Elder Harris and I and Mrs. Harris that could stabilize it, but having our ladies being there and be invested in our community too has been a big part. Mr. Nance, what can you share on all this?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Marcus and Joe's, for having us out here. Oh, wow, just going down memory lane with the founders here. I mean, I'm still learning so much. As you've heard Elder Harris say earlier, I am the newest member of Intersection of Change. I am Jasper Nance. I am the program director of Martha's Place, the initial building that you saw. That is the first building for our program. That's where you said we had church services. That's where our first 6-month transitional program took place before we went across the street and the founders did revitalize that area. I'm originally from the Carolinas, born and raised, love home. Love home like Elder Harris loves Sandtown. But I came up here, went to school, graduated, and actually started working out here in the DC area. I'm literally a few blocks from here on Eastern Avenue, working at a group home. I was the manager of a home that served young people that were abused and neglected. Some were adjudicated. From there, I went on to Anne Arundel County and deal with folks that dealt with mental health. From there, and I got my managerial skills, my leadership skills, and just kind of gave me the footing into the door. I've never been out into Baltimore City really to work. It's really just to hang out, to have fun, and it was towards the harbor. It was towards Fells Point. I dare not touch West Baltimore. I was not built for that life. I'm from Carolina. I saw this stuff on TV, all of the negative things. I saw the shootings, I saw the beatings, I saw the police brutality. Now, I don't need no parts of that. But there was some divine intervention that took me to intersection of change. And I found that, came out there, applied for the job. The Lord blessed me with this particular job. But it was not so much of a job as much became, I guess you could say, a lifestyle, a passion, a will, a desire to make that difference. It's one thing to work in a community that deals with young people that deal with abuse and neglect or mental health issues. Another thing to see a community that's been abused, that's been neglected, that has an abundance of mental health issues. So it seems like I've been prepped for this. Just a little bit about Martha's Place. We are a program that holds 15 women in capacity in all 4 of the homes that you have seen. These women are from all over Baltimore City, but we focus on our own community of Sandtown. In order to get into Martha's Place, a lady would have to, first of all, definitely have to, it's for all women. Unfortunately, we don't do children right now, but who knows where we could go in the future. We were trying to conquer the world, as Mr. Marcus has said. To have an income, to be a part of our group, what we could like to call Wellness Wednesdays. And prior to me coming aboard, we had what we call Overcoming Thursdays. So we definitely want to and continue to encourage the women just to take part and manage, and not necessarily just conquer their recovery, but you take charge. You are not what you were. You are what you desire to be, and it consistently takes work in order to do that thing that you wish to be. So we have what we call Wellness Wednesdays, and Wellness Wednesday, we talk about various life skills, the things that you would need to be a well-functioning individual, as you would, those basic life skills, if you would. But not only that, because we do not know everything, we also encourage the ladies to go out to their own NA or AA support meetings, go on to their own mental health or medical health providers. This is a semi-independent living program. So we expect you to be out on your own. In order to be successful at Martha's Place, you have to want to have that recovery. You have to want to be successful. You're gonna have to want to be a part of your community, to do your part to be that better individual, what you define to be success. And that's why I think Martha's Place have served over 500 women with I think it's a 87% success rate, and we're still continuing to go strong. Currently, right now in 2022, excuse me, we're at 15 women right now, meaning we are at capacity right now. We have a young lady that is leaving our program right now. She's been with us for 8 years, but recovery does not have a time limit on it. Your recovery is just that, your recovery. And that's one thing I also love about Martha's Place. We are a semi-independent living program, but there is no cap. You stay there as long as you need to. That's what that community looks like. That's what the vision that Elder Harris had. That is the vision that Mr. Marcus continues to promote as the executive director. And there's so many women that I've just seen so far. I think since I've been here about almost a year now, almost 20 women have come through with 4 successful discharges already. 0 negative discharges, if you would. So anybody that has relapsed or what have you. So it's gonna come with its own challenges. If you were to come out to Sandtown, you will see that it is an open drug market. You can't think that it is that thing that you see on TV until you get to intersection of change, until you get to Martha's Place. It becomes that diamond in the rough. There's a whole lot of negativity all around, but there's so much positivity right here within the recovery, within the visual arts, within the urban garden, promoting fresh organic vegetables and people that want to do the work. It ain't just some outside transplant or this big company. No, it's these individuals right here and about 20 others serving their community. This gentleman right here has not left his home, even though he had more than a few opportunities, I'm sure. And y'all see him as just a founder, but he is also a steam master, if you would. He built these from his hands. With blessed by donors and sponsors and grants and funds from the community, made this thing happen. So it became that diamond. He saw this piece of coal and he polished that thing into a diamond. And I got to be a part of that. So I'm just sitting here just looking at the views like, wow, I'm a part of this big vision that started over 20 years ago, that it almost brought a tear to my eye. And not only I'm saying that, but so many women that we have served, over these 500 women that we have served so far, a lot of them say it's the same thing. And a lot of them want to give back. The prior program directors want to be a part of the board of directors. This is because the intersection of change is doing so much great work in such a community that so many people can see to do such negativity. It's hard to find a thing that so all that negativity, you see all of that positivity, that greatness. Well, I like to call that diamond in the rough. And just to have so many successful discharges and so many successful admissions, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. And Martha's Place is going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to meet the needs of the community. We're going to continue to meet the needs of Baltimore City and the surrounding areas. And that's just all a part of the vision of Elder Harris. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Nance. And I think what you just said is a great thing to highlight. You know, for us as a community-based organization, the vision has always been to look at what are the unmet needs. So Elder Harris talked about one of our partners that started a school, pre-K through 8th grade school, to address that need for education. So we didn't try to do that. Interestingly, when Elder Harris got our first building that we were looking at, his vision and passion was that it would be for the arts. But he was at a community meeting, and the story that we've always retold over the years is that he was there and a woman stood up and said, hey, there are places for men in the neighborhood that are in recovery for them to get well. There are no places for women. And testament to Elder Harris, he listened to that stated need. And I think this highlights where when you are a community-based organization, lifelong community resident, someone that's been in the neighborhood 25 years, someone that moved in the neighborhood about 20 years ago, you have those relationships, you have those neighbors, those people you know that you see, that you can listen to and make those adjustments. So that was Elder Harris's original vision, was in the arts. And once we had Martha's Place, the building renovated, and I don't know if you knew this, but originally the vision was for 1928 Pennsylvania Avenue to be arts related. And so Elder Harris put that on hold, but that fire was still burning. And so Gustavo, if we scroll down a little bit, we'll see how a few years later we looked at the, that's another one of our green spaces that we converted. Keep on going. There we go. We saw this remaining hulking building vacant at our intersection and started looking about, okay, what can we do to reclaim this? And that was a project we completed in 2009. It is the home base to a lot of things, including our Jubilee Arts program. That includes arts classes for all ages. We have little kids all the way up to senior citizens with classes 4 days a week. We do, we've done, as I said, 36 murals, or 36 murals over the years, where we hire our teenagers under the guise of the guidance of a professional artist every summer. And then perhaps most significantly for us with Jubilee Arts is that we have something called Youth in Business. Our Jubilee Arts program started 2008. It was going well. Around 2015, after the death of Freddie Gray, we were still having trouble. We were having our little kids, our middle schoolers, our adults, our senior citizens, all engaged really well. We were having trouble reaching our teenagers. And the new concept, the new response to that was we created Youth in Business for our teenagers to have an opportunity to use art as an entrepreneurial project to make, design, create, sell, and profit share in items that they design in the program. Most years until the pandemic, they were making $40,000 a year selling custom-made t-shirts, jewelry, ceramic house number signs, and then sharing those profits. And you know, to Elder Harris's vision that us doing all this work helps us raise our next level of leaders too, we have a lot of our participants have been youth in business under our Jubilee Arts program that are now staff members. So that's very significant. That was Jubilee Arts.
Very significant.
Yeah. And then before we go on, we'll just say a fast word, Elder Harris, about Strength to Love 2. That was the last program that was started 2013, first by you and church members as a pilot project, and then folded under Intersection of Change.
Yeah, so we're a faith-based organization. And it started here in Washington, D.C. as Strength to Love. Strength of Love is a book written by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and they are series of his messages throughout the years of his life. And we thought it was a wonderful name. We thought it was a wonderful book. So they had Strength of Love, working with returning citizens here in Washington, D.C. And so I said, we're going to do a similar thing in Baltimore City, but we'll call it Strength of Love 2. Working with those who are returning citizens from incarceration. And we have a lot of those in Central West Baltimore, a lot of young men and women who are returning citizens. We have the largest average of returning citizens in Baltimore City. And so for that cause, we thought it very important for us to focus our attention on that situation. We take a lot of our understanding of working with our brothers and sisters from the Delancey Street Project in San Francisco, California. We went out there for a week. We observed and studied what they were doing, and we tried to simulate that in our community.
And so as I turn over to our other team member, I'll say that at current, our Strength to Love 2 program runs an 1.5 acre farm. It's addressing food apartheid in our neighborhood. It employs our returning citizens, and we do workforce development, 20 folks a year. And we're getting ready this year now to start doing for teenagers as well. So all under the umbrella of Intersection of Change. A lot of our conversation today is about community development, social justice, and I'd like to turn over to our other team member. Patty Prasada Rao has been in our community for about 20 years now, has led programs in our community, is the co-chair of our board of directors, and has also worked nationally at the Christian Community Development Association, which is really where we got our model about this very community-centric approach. And Pat, I wonder if maybe you would just kind of, as we look at these issues that are, look, when Freddie Gray was lost in our neighborhood, when George Floyd was lost out west, and a lot of people finally kind of paying attention again, or for the first time, to these inequities. I wonder if you maybe contextualize all this, what's playing out in our neighborhood, the intersection of change, within this broader context.
Sure. I'm happy to. I'm honored to be here, and thank you again to Joe's for inviting us to share. I've actually been around, first met Elder Harris and Todd in 1996, 97, I think it was, 97 perhaps. And my claim to fame for the Martha's Place building was that I helped to put in the ceiling joists in the kitchen. And I helped Todd as we were laying the hardwood floor in the main room. And at that time, it was an open air drug market just outside. We had no air conditioning in the building, so we had the windows up. And one of the things about a community like Sandtown is that most people who don't live there only hear about it, as Mr. Nance said, when you hear things, statistics on the news. Or one of the most common questions that we get when you talk about living in Baltimore or in West Baltimore, people say, is it really like The Wire? And unfortunately, yes, parts of it is really like The Wire. The Wire was a well-done show to really highlight some of the issues that face our city and communities like ours. But what you don't know until you come into a community like ours is that that's not all there is. It's actually a place of amazing joy. It's a place of interconnected and intergenerational belonging. It's a place where I, since I've been a community resident, can't walk on any block without somebody going, hi, Miss Patty, hey, Miss Patty. It's unlike the more perceived safe or calm place in the suburbs, in that actually people know who we are and people care about me. There's a sense of belonging in Sandtown that I have not found anywhere else except in my Indian extended family community where you belong to each other. There's a beautiful aspect of life in our community that is masked and hidden by the challenges of our community. And all of us have spoken of that same truth. And I think that one of the principles of the Christian Community Development Association and the model that our work is based in is about people knowing that they belong together. What does it mean for us to actually realize that what happens to my child also makes a difference in what happens to your child? It's not just if I can keep my child in a good school, what about the children who are having difficulty? You know, one of the realities about this model of ministry says that if we're going to be involved in this work, it means coming close. Proximity, it means being in the place where the pain is, to be a part of walking and receiving and shouldering and sharing in those burdens. And in our case, it also means walking and sharing and enjoying the joy. I have probably not seen any place where there's been more celebration than in Sandtown when something great happens and everyone comes out. It's not just a private thing. I also will say that one of my first involvements with Sandtown was working with one of the New Song's arts development programs. It was called New Song Arts. And the picture that I want to describe to you is a little bit, I think, about what the picture of all of the work that we do. And that was a work that was an inner city gospel choir. The director of the choir was Elder Harris's daughter. And I had a chance to work with them as a resource development person, writing grants. But what made the biggest difference for me, coming in from the outside, was coming to watch those kids sing and hearing them sing songs of hope and songs of what was possible, and knowing that as they sang them, they were speaking words of truth and singing them to themselves. I can be anything that I want to be, that people believe in me. And they went from being kids who might not have been ever heard or acknowledged to singing and performing in places where people were paying tickets to come and hear them. And so a beautiful thing about that is that aspect of the work allowed Sandtown's voice to be heard in a different way. I think one of the things about Intersection of Change, Todd and Elder Harris talked about the renovation of these buildings. Mr. Nance talked about the work in the ladies' lives. There is an aspect where if you're going to be engaged in community development work, you have to deal with reality. The reality is that there are hard things. The reality is in a vacant building, there are rotted beams. There are things that have to come down. Before you can rebuild something to be strong and new, you have to be willing to face the reality of what is not okay and address those things that are not okay. Sometimes it requires demolition. Sometimes it requires taking things out. It requires vision and a plan to see what is possible. And then the rebuilding process. There's a parallel to what we did with the buildings and what happens in the lives of the ladies at Martha's Place, in that when you focus on addressing those things that you have to take down, tear down, move aside, and then you have the vision for what can be possible, how you are valued, why you matter, and then you work towards the building of that. It goes for a building, it goes for the ladies at Martha's Place, and it goes for a community. A part of what Intersection of Change is doing is highlighting that our community actually matters. Just like those kids in the choir, they began to believe that maybe they mattered. What we want is for our community of Sandtown, Winchester, and Upton to know that they matter. What happens in our community matters. And that Intersection of Change is giving an opportunity for the voice of our community, the song of our community to be sung, and for others to hear it, for others to say, this is a beautiful place. This place matters. You know, I'll bring it again to Todd's work with jazz, which I know last week he talked a lot about, the incorporation of his Egyptian influence into his music. And I think we're going to spend a little bit of time here talking about his music and how the work of our community has been infused into his music. But when you're talking about jazz, when you're talking about any ensemble work, you're talking about bringing multiple different voices together into a place that when they come together, they build and make something even more beautiful than just one by themselves. And you come into a place where voices come into harmony. And when you hear that sweet spot, there's just something that lifts your soul and lifts your spirit. But I just had a thought, Todd, that I'd never thought of before, something about your bass clarinet. So Todd's bass clarinet instrument is a very unlikely instrument to be leading in jazz. And he had to be willing to say, I'm gonna try this. You know, there's probably some failure and there's some work because you're working against stereotypes or working against perceptions of your instrument and what you can do with it. But Todd has worked faithfully to be able to lead the work with Todd Marcus Jazz with his bass clarinet to bring other people together that might not have otherwise come together. And then to create music where the voice of the bass clarinet has been lifted up now, where maybe before it was in obscurity. I feel a little bit that that's kind of like what we do, that the voice of Sandtown's community was not thought to be a likely place. It was this unlikely thing in the shadows. And part of what we're doing is to bring the song and the voice and the melody of Sandtown to come up so that this unlikely place can actually be a leader, that it can be the thing that brings other people together. And I will say that one of the things of the CCDA movement and the work of New Song, the work of Intersection of Change, is that by bringing folks together, we've been able to say and help other people to feel they belong. There are thousands of people now who have come into Sandtown whose idea of an inner city community has been transformed and changed because they came, because they met Elder Harris, because they spent time with us in the work that we're doing. And so we've been ambassadors and life transformers to have other people then be able to say, no, it's not what you think. Come and visit, come and see. And then they become part of the song and the part of the music that tells other people that who we are and what we do matters also.
Thank you, Patty. I think that beautifully captures everything that we're about and is a segue just for me to reiterate that as a musician, there's been an effort with using my music to do that storytelling, to meet people with an openness that they might not otherwise have or hear. I think about how after the unrest, after Freddie Gray in 2015, a lot of the county areas suspended field trips to Baltimore City. And we know how polarized the news and political perspectives are on our community. And so I want to take a moment to show how, as a musician, as an artist, I've used my music to try to, if I can't get people to come to Sandtown, like you said, when we've had people come in the community and when they hear Elder Harris talk, they're converted. I'm an example of that. I'm a testament to that. You too, Patty, and Mr. Nanza, you know, all of us, right? And so to be able to, like we're going to do on Saturday when we do our concert here, to present our music, and for me to have written music that's about these difficult issues. Let's do a little example. And before we do, Brooke, do we have any questions that have come in by any chance? No, not yet. Okay, so we're just going to keep on going with this example. So this is a composition that is called Ground Zero at Penn and North. Actually, I would ask Gustavo, would you pull up some of the photos from the folder that I provided? I want you to see the visual. You've seen some of these building close-ups, but I want you to see some. So this is our intersection. This is where Intersection of Change is. And I guess I can get in here. Here's the building that we started all those years ago, and then we expanded. We reclaimed this one, reclaimed all of these. Hopefully these will be next. And go to the next one. Another perspective. Here's that beautiful garden. Now it's wintertime in here, but all this that was just vacant. There was a junkyard next door to us that we were able to get them to stop and take all the trash off, and we make it beautiful. All of this green space here were buildings that were knocked down. Go on to the next one. Another one. Keep on going. We got the boxing center. Next to us is a boxing center where the current lightweight champion of the world is located. All right, and then here is Pennsylvania Avenue and North Avenue. And this composition that we're going to play is called Ground Zero at Penn and North, because when we had the unrest after Freddie Gray's funeral, it was all centered here. Both the negatives, this is the CVS that was on fire. Gustavo, go ahead further. This is some of our murals that we've done. Keep going. This was the day of that unrest, the police marching down And when you're in your neighborhood and it becomes more militarized, it's a very scary thing. Go on to the next picture, please. Maybe that's our last one. Okay, so all that was headed up towards Pennsylvania Avenue and North Avenue, where that CVS was vandalized, broken into, and set on fire. And that night, as that was still burning, people were coming together trying to stop that. In the days after, there was a place of protest, of demonstrations in a positive way. And so with music, coming back long-winded to say, how does music fold into this and fostering understanding? I wrote a composition called Ground Zero at Penn and North that captures the turmoil, the tension, the strain, also a theme of hope. But I didn't just do the song, I did an interlude before it. This is actual footage from our councilman, Nick Mosby at the time, now he's the city council president, being interviewed by a reporter very aggressively, and him responding to contextualize about the challenges our neighborhood was facing. So Gustavo, this would be I think the one called Ground Zero intro. This is off of the album.
It's interesting, Megan, if you come over here, there's a couple of gentlemen in suits that might be worth us talking to. We're going to cross the street here. Peace. I'm going to come up to this gentleman. Hi, I'm Leland Vittert. How are you, sir?
How you doing?
Good. I'm with Fox News. Are you from Baltimore?
We are from Baltimore. I'm the city councilman in the district.
You're a city councilman here. What is it? As you're watching this, tell me what this means for your city.
Cease! What do you mean? Cease fire!
When you're watching this go on, does it break your heart to see this happen?
Oh, definitely. I mean, what it is young boys, the young folks of this community showing decades old of anger, frustration for a system has failed them. I mean, this is bigger than Freddie Gray. This is about the social economics of poor urban America. And, these young guys are frustrated, they're upset, and unfortunately, they're displaying it in a very destructive manner. When folks are undereducated, unfortunately, they don't have the same intellectual voice to express it the way other people are doing, and that's what we see through the violence today.
We just watched this liquor store being looted, and there's a bunch of folks running in and out of there.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with nothing.
What's wrong with that? And the police are all the way down there. You're a city council member, is that right?
Is it right for people to loot? No. I mean, I think you've missed everything I've tried to articulate to you. What I've said is everything out here has happened wrong. The violence is wrong. That's never acceptable. Understanding that there's a symptom of something that's going on here. And what I'm trying to articulate to you is when you look at communities like this in urban America, lack of education, lack of commercial development, lack of opportunities. It's the social economics of it. It has nothing to do with West Baltimore or this particular corner in Baltimore. This could erupt anywhere in socially, economically deprived America.
Well, we've certainly seen this in other cities. Obviously, Ferguson comes to mind.
We also see it at rallies like at Kentucky. When Kentucky lost that basketball game, we see crowds that loot and that flip over cars and stuff. Right. But unfortunately, all of the 95% of the positive rallying that has been occurring here in Baltimore, the national media is going to focus on this, and that's the problem.
So what are the legitimate grievances in your mind that folks have about being here? Is it against the police? Is it against the poverty?
I think this is a culmination of a lot of different things. Decades old of failed policies. Decades old of lack of development for these communities. I mean, it's a lot that pours into it, and these young boys are speaking tonight, unfortunately, in a very wrong way.
Do you have any idea why, as we're seeing what's going on here, and obviously you've got the police who have now backed off, any idea why?
We asked them to back off. The minute this community came together, we talked to the police. We told them we would be able to kind of talk to the young guys out here, and we asked them to back up, and they did it. It worked out. So
it worked out, but the liquor store's still being looted.
That was best pass. And at this point, this is not productive.
Leland.
You keep talking about.
Leland.
Go ahead, Megan.
And let's listen to the music that results in.
It's interesting, Steve. If you come over here, there are a couple of gentlemen in suits that may be worth us talking to. We're going to cross the street here and talk to this gentleman. Hi, how you doing, sir?
I'm good.
he has set on fire. There's the tension, the turmoil. Now the drums continue. And you have this ominous theme. The tension that night that was brewing. That. Here's our theme of hope. And then the music continues on from there. But this is an example of how, as a composer, I'm trying to do musical storytelling, using these interludes as well to contextualize with non-lyric based music. So we hope that you enjoy that. Everyone that's watching now will come out to the concert this Saturday. I am watching our time, and I want to be mindful. I think we might be at the tail end. I don't know if we have any questions, or if Brooke, the great director from Joe's Movement Emporium, wants to come step back in and share any words with us. But so grateful to the chance to have this residency, to not just do a concert, but to have a longer dialogue, to be able to share all of this. There's so much that's going on, as you can hear. We hope people will visit intersectionofchange.org to learn more about our work. Visit toddmarcusjazz.com to see about my music. And of course, come out to our concert this Saturday at 7 p.m. here at Joe's Movement Emporium.
And we thank everyone at Joe's for this opportunity to express ourselves and to let your audience know what we're doing in Baltimore to turn around the dismay of so many people, and to see and to understand the struggles of those who do not have a voice. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Elder Harris. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Mr. Nance. Thank you.